Now with 2025 right around the corner and with my personal dividend strategy, investing strategy, sort of as of recently shifting around from me buying things higher yielding or maybe lower yielding and more growth potential, I wanted to make a video and share with you guys 3 dividend growth style ETFs that I'm going to be planning on buying pretty consistently from this point and through 2025. And this is simply because every single one of these dividend growth style ETFs match exactly what I'm looking for as a long-term dividend focused investor. Now you might be wondering, what am I looking for? I'm looking for upside potential. I also want some dividend growth. I definitely want diversification and security in my holdings, but on top of that, I want to get paid a decent amount of dividend income from day one. So if you want to see which dividend growth ETFs I'm going to be buying throughout the rest of this year and the next, make sure to stick around, drop a link down below, and let's get right into the first one. Real quick, for those that haven't already, make sure to go to the first link in my description and grab my new dividend investing ebook, where I share exactly how I went from $0 invested to now earning over $6,000 on a monthly basis and over $1 million invested in the markets. Along with the ebook, you're also going to receive my custom dividend tracker, where you can track your dividend progress on an ongoing basis and reach your dividend investing goals. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. Now, the first dividend growth ETF that I just started buying over the last few months and definitely will continue to buy throughout this year and the next is one of my new favorites, VIG, or the Vanguard Dividend Appreciation ETF. Now, the main focus of this ETF that I like is the fact that it's well diversified. It's of course very cheap to own, but on top of that, because of the holding breakdown, I think VIG has a boatload of potential as far as upside goes for the next few years. Now, for those that aren't that familiar with VIG, it says under product summary, seeks to track the performance of the S&P US Dividend Growers Index, passively managed full replication, remains fully invested, etc., etc. But on top of the important part, large cap equity, emphasizing stocks with a record of growing their dividends year over year. And I would say, at least historically speaking, VIG has been one of the best investments dividend growth style investors could have focused on over the past few decades. Now, since 2006, VIG is up around 286% plus dividends, of course. And even though it's trading towards the all-time high as of right now, I still personally am grabbing some shares here and there because, simply put, this ETF just keeps on growing, at least it has historically. Now, this is of course largely due to the fact that the holding breakdown does have a large portion in technology, a large portion of financials, healthcare, and others, which gives this 342 different holdings in VIG a little bit higher beta than some of the other dividend growth style ETFs. You're gonna have a lot of exposure to names like Apple, Broadcom, Microsoft. I mean, these 3 holdings alone make up almost 11 or 12%. But either way, VIG is extremely well diversified, full of dividend growth names that have a history of paying dividends and growing their dividends year over year. Now, speaking of dividends, VIG does offer one, of course, 1.7%, which is on the lower end of things, especially for someone like myself that is pretty focused on raising my dividend income relatively fast at least. But with the massive dividend growth rate of around 10% or even 8.4% over the last 5 and 10 years, historically speaking at least, even if VIG has a small dividend today, the chart over time shows that as long as you hold on to it for long enough, you're going to get paid some substantial income. It might just take a few years. Now, all this to say, because moving forward, I do want to focus a little bit more on growth potential for my portfolio, because my dividend income, although it's not exactly where I want it to be long term, it's not that far off. So I need to focus on some growth names as well, which is why VIG is definitely going to be, at this point, a weekly buy in my portfolio and probably move over to a daily buy maybe next year. Another weekly buy that's going to find itself a lot more frequently inside my portfolio is ticker symbol DGRW, or the Wisdom Tree US Quality Dividend Growth Fund, another dividend growth ETF that I've been wanting to buy for a long time, but just haven't really gotten around to it because the fact that I've been buying so much other ones as of recently. But this ETF has a lot to offer, so listen in. It says right here, Wisdom Tree US Quality Dividend Growth Fund seeks to track the investment results of dividend-paying large cap companies with growth characteristics in the US equity markets. It also says gain access to the current investment landscape of US large cap dividend growing companies by applying quality and growth screens. Now, I personally came across DGRW a while back, and like I said, although it's been on my watch list for a long time now, I, as of right now, sadly only own just a few shares. Now, DGRW is up around 23% over the 1 year. It's up around 16-17% year to date. In max time frame, this chart looks about as good as anything. Since around 2013, this ETF is up around 230%. And again, largely due to the fact that it has a large exposure to technology, healthcare, financials, the sectors that seem to move up over time pretty fast. And although all these dividend growth ETFs have some familiar names, they for the most part have them divvied out a little bit differently. Like for example, DGRW has around 12 or almost 13% of the ETF made up of Microsoft and Apple. So like I always say, if you're not interested in having more exposure to those two, this might not be the ETF for you. But around 300 different holdings in DGRW, different high quality dividend growth names, tons of blue chip names in this one. Now, as far as dividends go, 1.5% trailing 12 months. So you are getting a smaller dividend to start, but 9.4% dividend growth rate over the last 10 years years. So even once again, if the dividend is kind of small to start off with, over time the dividends have been getting bigger. And with DGRW, they also pay dividends monthly, which can definitely be helpful if that's what you're looking for. But to be real, I don't think anyone's really buying DGRW just for the dividend income. This ETF, although it has dividend growth in the name, this ETF has the potential for some massive upside, which is why I want to gain some exposure to it in the up and coming months and years. Now, the last dividend growth style ETF that I'm going to be buying pretty significantly throughout the rest of 2024 at least, and maybe a little bit in 2025, is SCHD, or the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF, which is my largest holding across all the dividend growth ETFs as of right now. Now, as of filming this video, I think I have just shy of 700 shares of this one, and I desperately want to get to 750 shares, and then maybe get to 1,000 shares from there. And at that point, I'll probably switch over my daily purchases and move some of my cash balance towards names like DGRW and VIG. Now, the reason I focused on SCHD as my first dividend growth holding throughout my entire portfolio to really focus on is because out of all the names, SCHD does have the highest dividend yield, which again is very important to me as a dividend investor that might want to use or live off my dividends in the up and coming, say, 2, 4, 6, 8 years. Now, SCHD is up around 13% on the 1 year, up around 10% on the year to date, and max time frame 227%. So even though SCHD does offer a much larger dividend, which I'm going to show you here in a second, compared to both VIG and DGRW, even still, this ETF has had some massive upside. It's basically tripled, almost quadrupled in the last decade and some change. Now, the holding breakdown for SCHD is a little bit different. You're getting a much smaller exposure to things like technology. So if you want some higher beta, if you want some massive upside potential, maybe SCHD won't be the best option. Although there's definitely names in here like Lockheed Martin and others that have grown a lot in a short amount of time frame over the last year or so. But all in all, around 100 different holdings in SCHD. Some of the names are familiar and popular. Some of these names investors aren't the biggest fan of. But like I said, because of the dividend yield of around 3.5% or 4%, depending on when you started buying this one, like I did. This ETF is offering some massive upside as far as price return goes, is offering a well-diversified portfolio with a rock-solid methodology behind it. And on top of that, 3.4, 3.5, or 4% dividend starting, plus massive dividend growth historically, is giving dividend-focused investors like myself some huge exposure to some income from day one, but along with the exposure of everything else. Now, because of that reason, like I said, I focused on buying a lot of SCHD over the last year or so, and although I'll continue to buy some more throughout this year, in 2025, it's going to be sort of a toss-up if I choose to keep buying more of this one, or if I focus on some different names. Only time will tell. But still, for dividend investors out there that want some exposure to upside and also want to get paid a nice juicy amount of cash flow along the way, SCHD, the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF, is probably one of the best dividend growth style ETFs to ever do it. So there we have it. Those are 3 different dividend growth style ETFs that I'm planning on purchasing throughout the rest of this year and beyond into 2025. Now, like I said, just because my goals are to raise my dividend income as fast as possible, as safe as possible, but also trying to get some exposure to some upside, does not necessarily by any means mean that that's the same exact strategy that you should have or that you might have. But for me personally, those are 3 of my top picks as far as dividend growth style ETFs moving forward. And down below in the comments, I want you to drop some ticker symbols and tell me yours. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.